Greetings, ladies and gentlefish, and welcome to one of my games. This is, well, will be me driving around in a Tier 8 game in the Tier 8 Chinese heavy tank, the 110. Now, the point of this video is... what is the point of this video? The point of this video is to try and demonstrate pointless damage, basically. So, there are some locations on many maps that, generally speaking, you're best to avoid for a wide variety of reasons, but basically because they're not very effective, they're not very good. And the beach here on Serene Coast? South Coast. The beach here on South Coast is one such example. The beach is not, generally speaking, a good location to go to. However, periodically, I like to go to the bad locations on maps to see if the way the map plays has changed, to see if the meta has changed, you know, to see if it is still a terrible location to go to, or if it is a viable location to now go to. So that's what I'm doing. I know that the beach on this map is not a very good place to be, but I'm doing it anyway to see if it's still not a very good place to be. And the other thing that it occurred to me at the time was that, with the exception of myself, this 112, and a rather ambitious E25, the rest of our team is ploughing down the other side of the map. So whilst the beach is not, generally speaking, a very good place to go to, you know, I'm taking the flank that kind of doesn't really have anyone on it. Yeah. So, anyway. The game in hand. I've pushed down to D2. I'm just going to keep going here. I'm top tier here, and if I can find a location where I can hide my lower plate, looking at the enemy team, I can't see anyone who's going to reliably penetrate me. The enemy team's penetration or damaging possibilities on me revert to spamming HE, artillery, high penetration premium rounds, and that's about it. And that's a KV-85. Sorry if I occasionally cough, my throat's still a little tickly. So as you can see, I've found the KV-85, and he does have a friend in the background, a friend with quite a small caliber gun. So this is likely a low tier opponent, maybe the Challenger, maybe the M6 or the T21, someone like that. Oh, and that was a HE round by the look of it. It feels like Challenger, there you can see. I was going to say, it feels like a 75mm gun, there or thereabouts. And as you can see, my right track was knocked out by the Challenger. So, the Challenger's down there, we know that. Now, the view range on this tank is actually not bad. It's 380 meters. But it's not good enough to spot that tank destroyer. No, I do have to be a little bit careful here. Whilst the Challenger would really struggle to penetrate the front of my tank, even firing APCR, at that sort of range. Side shot, yeah, he can deal with a side shot. So, let's be a little wary here, and oh, the Challenger has a friend in the form of that M6, and it's the M6 who's firing the HE rounds, which makes more sense. 90mm HE will do some damage to this tank. Not a huge amount, but it will do some. And I decide to focus down the Challenger. I think my logic at the time was that the Challenger is a TD and hence more dangerous. But frankly, thinking on it, the M6 has the larger caliber gun. With premium rounds, he has higher penetration. With HE, he has more chance of doing damage to me. So maybe I should actually be should have actually focused the M6 down. Now, as you can see, so far, for the cost of what will be 3 kills, I've lost about 260 health. Now that's certainly not bad, but you have to remember that these 3 guys were all bottom tier. Well, not bottom tier, but they certainly weren't top tier. And you have to ask yourself how valuable it was killing those guys. So, this is really why the beach is often considered useless. Look at the position now. I have stormed down the beach, met some lower tier opposition, killed everything I came across, all 3 of them. My team ploughed down the other side of the map, have died, and now the enemy team is in our base. And the 110's relatively mobile as far as heavy tanks go, but look at how long it's going to take me to get back to our base. The 112 on our team has decided that what he really needs to do is to jump into the enemy capture circle. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, that's not a terrible idea. The enemy team is near our base, so maybe we can win this by cap. And yeah, I can see why you would think along those lines. But look at where some of the enemy tanks were last spotted. There's a Hummel, a T-21, and a T-28 HTC who were last spotted near the enemy base. So I don't honestly think that 112 is going to be able to successfully capture the enemy base. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. Credit to our artillery, he just manages to blat the enemy T-32, which is a valuable kill. And now I'm just trying to make myself useful. I'm trying to engage these guys, but we're in this awkward position now where we've got an LTTB who's probably going to kill our artillery. There's an IS-6 now. Engagement, 110, IS-6, 110 will duff the IS-6 over any day of the week. The only real chance this guy has of penetrating me is by hitting my lower plate, and at the sort of angle where we were engaging, i.e. I was on the lower ground, that just accentuates the angle on my lower plate, and he was never going to have a good day of that. So that's the one, the IS-6 killed. And as it turned out, we actually did manage to come back to our base in time to affect the outcome a little bit. We managed to kill that IS-6, but imagine if we'd been in something slightly slower. We and the enemy team had been capping our base. We probably wouldn't even have managed to get back to our base in time to do anything about that. And now we're driving over to the other side of the map in the hope that we're going to be able to help our 112, who dies to the enemy artillery. Now, if the 112, instead of driving down the map and trying to cap this out, had gone back to defend the base, then perhaps this game would have gone a little easier, but that's all ifs, buts, maybes. That's not what actually happened. So, now, it's me versus an LTTB, T-28 HTC, and the M40 artillery piece. On the one hand, I'm a top tier heavy tank with most of my health left, and the 110 has the best DPM of any of the regular heavy tanks. It sacrifices a little bit of penetration to get that, and gun handling, but it does have very good DPM. And so, you know, that's good, right? Well, yes, but on the other hand, I'm outnumbered 3-1, and the enemy does have artillery, and I'm kind of having to take these engagements as I find them. So just sniping out the weak spot on that T-28 HTC, those little side machine gun turrets are quite weak on that tank. But with AP rounds, with his, I can't remember how much penetration it is, he's going to really struggle to hurt me. However, that was an artillery shell, which shaved off a bunch of my health, damaged my gun, and knocked out my driver. So, we get the defib kit out and resuscitate the driver. Quick bit of repair work on the gun. But this is a really awkward position now. If I stay here, I'm going to get artilleried, but there's the LTTB. Managed to put a shot into him though, thankfully. But doing so meant that I'd angled my tank away, and the T-28 manages to put another round into me. And this is really awkward. The 110 likes to face its opponents front on, none of this faffing around rubbish. You could argue I maybe should have loaded APCR to take out the T-28, but there we go. And with these two guys at different angles, it means that I'm often kind of giving one guy the side of my pike nose rather than facing them front on, so that was a really awkward position, and then the enemy artillery manages to land another shot and kill me. So that was a kind of painful game. Let's go and have a look at the results, and then I'll try and explain why I actually chose this game to show you. So what did we get for that? Well, for our defeat, we got First Class Mastery Fighter, it's like Buddy or something for not shooting allies for X number of games. Duelist, Fire for Effect, High Caliber, and a Tank Sniper of all awards. I mean, go figure. 4,862 damage, 5 kills, and 1,253 experience on a defeat. You can see there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of our team did 0 damage. 19 shots fired, 17 hits, 16 penetrations for that 4,862 damage. 2,106 of that was from longer range, the rest was from close range. We received 38 hits, of which 30 failed to penetrate, for 4,370 damage blocked by armour, damaged 7 enemy tanks, killed 5 of them, and travelled just under 3 kilometres. With our premium account, we made a profit of some 37,000 credits even on that defeat. Now, my initial reaction to that game involved a lot of swearing and cursing of my teammates, and if you look at how the score screens went, you could fairly reasonably understand why I was not particularly amused by them. However, you do also have to think to yourself, well, is there anything better that I could have done to try and prevent that? Now, as I say, I was experimenting with that flank, the beach section of that map, as I hadn't been there in a long time, so I thought I'd experiment with it again. And came to the conclusion it's a bad place to go, and it's still a bad place to go. I mean, I already knew it was a bad location. And the reasons for that are many, but they basically boil down to the fact that anything you do on that flank, on that beach, tends to have very little impact on the rest of the game, on what's actually happening around you. And it's very easy for the enemy team to sit in your base and cap out, and you're not really able to get back in time. There was one point where the enemy team were capping our base, and I'm not sure if I would physically have been able to get back in time or not. So, let's think. We were able to do almost 5,000 damage in a tier 8 tank, which is very good, but caveat here, let's look at who we actually damaged. We completely killed a KV-85, a Challenger, and an M6. Well, frankly, in that matchup, all of those tanks, especially the KV-85 and the M6, but also the Challenger to a certain extent, they would have really struggled to have a good game, as it turned out. We killed the T-28 HTC. Okay, fair enough. We put a shot into the SU-122-44. In fact, no we didn't. This score screen is bugged. We never shot the SU-122-44. Why is it saying that we did? We never encountered the guy. Oh, maybe we did. I don't know, maybe I'm just going mad. Who knows? We put a shot into the LTTB, but if you actually look at that, how many top tier tanks did I engage? I'm a top tier heavy tank. How many of their top tier tanks did I get the chance to engage? We finished off an IS-6. Woo! We didn't engage their T-32. You could argue the LTTB gets top tier matchmaking, fair enough. We didn't engage the IS-3. We didn't engage the VKA. We didn't engage the Super Pershing. They were all on the other side of the map. So, with all that, you have to start thinking to yourself, how much use was the damage that I actually did? Maybe I could have won that game if I had gone to the other side of the map and lemming trained down there with everybody else, slowed their deaths down or prevented them from dying, and then maybe that would have put us in with a better chance of winning. I don't know. Interestingly, it just occurred to me, I mentioned that I didn't shoot an SU-122-44. The only time I can think of when I could have shot him was when I blind fired that bush right at the beginning of the game, so maybe I managed to do that. Anyway, the point of this replay was just to try and highlight the fact that, yes, I could whinge and complain about my team as much as I wanted, and there would be some justification in doing so. But you have to think, how useful were you in that game? And I think, if I'm honest with myself, and as I say, bear in mind I was experimenting with the beach again, I don't really like it as a location, but if I'm honest with myself, I don't think I was that useful. Certainly not as useful as I could have been. However, the other side of the map is better if you have gun depression, and the 110 doesn't have great gun depression, so it's a bit of a toss-up. 6 to 1, half dozen the other. So I'll let you guys be the judge, I guess. How useful was my role in that game? I don't know. Feel free to leave your own comments in, well, the comment section. Where else would you leave them? But I thought it was worth showing, and generally speaking, as I say, I do experiment trying to go back to those locations that I don't like on maps to see if they work now or if they're still rubbish. And I think I can safely say the beach on this map is still rubbish. Anyway, all that aside, I hope you guys enjoyed that little outing in the 110. If you did, please feel free to leave some comments to catch some of my other videos, and or subscribe to my channel. And I wish you all very happy hunting on that battlefield. Ciao, ciao.